If you've ever dreamed of turning a bold idea into a successful business, but felt overwhelmed by uncertainty, the Lean Startup offers a practical step-by-step framework to help you build, adapt, and thrive in today's fast-changing world. We'll cover the entire book in just a few minutes. Chapter 1. Start. Imagine you've just set out on a journey to build something entirely new, a business that could change lives. But instead of a clear map, you're navigating a foggy, uncertain terrain. This is the world of entrepreneurship. In the Lean Startup, Eric Ries tells us that this uncertainty isn't just an obstacle. It's the very foundation of innovation. At the heart of this chapter is the concept of validated learning. Think of it as the compass for your entrepreneurial journey. Unlike traditional methods that rely on gut feelings or grand, untested plans, validated learning relies on evidence. It's the process of proving what works and what doesn't, using real-world data. And the tool that makes this possible? The Build, Measure, Learn feedback loop. Here's how it works. You start by building a small version of your idea, measure how people respond to it, and then learn from the results to improve. Imagine you're a chef testing a new recipe. Instead of making a huge batch and hoping everyone likes it, you cook a small portion, ask your guests for feedback, and tweak the recipe until it's perfect. This approach minimizes waste and maximizes learning. Rise also warns against the trap of trying to create a perfect plan. Startups thrive not because they have flawless strategies, but because they adapt quickly. In his words, validated learning is not after-the-fact rationalization or a good story designed to hide failure. It is a rigorous method for demonstrating progress. So, what can you take away from this? First, adopt a learning-first mindset. Treat every decision as an opportunity to gather data and refine your idea. Second, use the Build, Measure, Learn loop to stay agile and responsive. And finally, focus on testing assumptions, not just executing a predetermined plan. Success in a startup isn't about avoiding uncertainty, it's about embracing it and learning from it. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Chapter 2. Define. Now that you've started your journey, it's time to define the tools you'll use to navigate. One of the most important tools in the Lean Startup Toolbox is the Minimum Viable Product, or MVP. Think of the MVP as the prototype you bring to life. Not perfect, not polished, but enough to start gathering real feedback. Why is the MVP so powerful? Imagine you're designing a new type of running shoe. Instead of building a high-tech, fully featured product from day one, you create a basic version that tests your most critical assumption. Do people even like the way it feels? This is what the MVP allows you to do. It accelerates learning by letting you test assumptions with minimal resources. Rise emphasizes that startups are experiments designed to achieve validated learning. This means you're not just building products. You're running tests to find out what works. But here's the catch. Not all data is equal. Vanity metrics, like how many people visit your website, might feel good but don't provide actionable insights. Instead, focus on metrics that tell you whether customers are truly engaging with your product. Imagine a coffee shop testing a new loyalty program. Instead of rolling it out across all locations, they trial it in one store. By observing how many customers actually return and use the program, they gather actionable data. If the program flops, they can tweak it without wasting resources. Ries sums it up perfectly. The MVP is that version of a new product which allows a team to collect the maximum amount of validated learning about customers with the least effort. The takeaway? Focus on the riskiest assumption about your product or market. Test it quickly, gather data, and refine. And most importantly, don't let vanity metrics distract you from the insights that truly matter. By defining your MVP and success metrics, you're not just building a product, you're building a system for continuous learning. This system will guide you as you move deeper into the world of innovation. Chapter 3. Learn. Let's dive deeper into the heart of entrepreneurship, learning. But this isn't about just picking up general knowledge, it's about validated learning, discovering through experience what works, and, more importantly, what doesn't. In the Lean Startup, Eric Ries teaches us that every startup is essentially a laboratory, and every decision you make is an experiment. Imagine you're opening a bakery. You might think customers want fancy cakes with elaborate decorations, but what if they actually crave simple, fresh cookies? Without asking or testing, you might spend weeks perfecting intricate recipes that no one buys. This is where validated learning saves the day. Instead of assuming, you test. Maybe you offer a small batch of cookies and cakes, then watch what sells. That simple act of observing customer behavior teaches you what they value most. Ries reminds us that failures aren't setbacks, they're clues. He says, startups exist not just to make stuff, make money, or serve customers. They exist to learn how to build a sustainable business. If a customer doesn't like your product, that's valuable data. It's like a scientist adjusting an experiment after unexpected results. It's all part of the process. The takeaway here is powerful. Stop guessing and start learning. Listen to what your customers say and watch what they do. Use feedback to tweak your approach. And don't fear failure. It's a stepping stone to success. If you approach each decision as an opportunity to learn, you'll be better equipped to build something people truly want. Chapter 4. Experiment. Now that we've learned the importance of feedback, let's talk about the backbone of discovery. Experimentation. Imagine you're trying to solve a puzzle. You can't just force pieces together and hope they fit. Instead, you experiment. Try one piece, step back, and adjust. That's exactly how startups should operate. Eric Ries tells us that every product, feature, or strategy is a hypothesis waiting to be tested. For example, say you're designing a new app for language learners. Instead of launching a fully built app, you might create a simple prototype with just one feature, maybe flashcards. Then you test. Do people use it? What do they like? What frustrates them? Each answer helps refine your next step. Ries puts it plainly. The question is not, can this product be built? Instead, the questions are, should this product be built? And can we build a sustainable business around this set of products and services? By treating your business as a series of small experiments, you avoid wasting resources on ideas that don't resonate. Take a lesson from scientific fields like medicine or engineering, where every breakthrough comes from careful testing. Startups should embrace the same mindset. Design experiments that address your biggest uncertainties. What assumptions are you making? What could go wrong? By systematically testing these questions, you not only reduce risk, but also uncover opportunities you hadn't considered. The key insight here is to iterate. Each experiment should inform the next, helping you refine your vision step by step. When you approach your business with curiosity and precision, you build more than a product. You build confidence in its value. That's the magic of experimentation. Chapter 5. Leap. Picture this. You've come up with an exciting idea for a new product, one you believe can revolutionize an industry. But here's the dilemma. How do you turn that vision into reality without wasting time, money, and effort on untested assumptions? That's where the concept of taking the leap comes in. And it's not just about blind risk-taking. Eric Ries explains that successful startups balance leaps of faith with a methodical approach to testing their most critical assumptions. Every entrepreneur begins with a leap of faith. Maybe you believe people will want a subscription box for dog toys, or an app that connects language tutors with learners. The key, Ries tells us, is identifying which assumptions are most crucial to your business. For example, does your target audience actually need or want what you're offering? This is where the distinction between vision and strategy becomes vital. Your vision might be the big picture, a world where every dog owner subscribes to your box. But your strategy is how you'll test and validate whether that vision is achievable. Ries reminds us, the riskiest assumptions are the ones that must be tested first. Why? Because untested assumptions are like cracks in the foundation of a house. They can bring down the entire structure. Imagine launching a tutoring app only to discover later that your target audience prefers in-person learning. Testing those assumptions early allows you to pivot before you've invested too much. Here's the actionable insight. Take a calculated leap. Write down the core assumptions behind your product or service. Which ones, if wrong, could derail your business? Start there. By prioritizing these critical risks and testing them quickly, you'll avoid costly mistakes. Remember, entrepreneurship is about balancing the boldness of vision with the humility to test and adapt. Chapter 6. Test. Now that you've taken the leap, it's time to land on solid ground. How do you know if your product idea truly resonates with customers? The answer lies in testing. Testing isn't just about validating your product. It's about learning, refining, and aligning your offerings with customer needs. Eric Ries emphasizes that testing is a dynamic process, one where early adopters become your partners in discovery. Think about the last time you downloaded an app or tried a new product. Chances are, your initial impressions, what you liked, what frustrated you, could have shaped the final version if the creators had asked for your input. That's the power of early adopters. These are the people willing to try something new and give honest feedback. They're not just customers, they're collaborators. Reese explains, testing is not about proving you are right, it is about discovering the truth. This mindset shift is critical. Instead of clinging to your original ideas, you must remain open to what the data and feedback are telling you. For example, let's say you've launched a fitness tracker and customers keep asking for sleep tracking features. Even if that wasn't part of your original plan, this feedback could guide your next iteration. To test effectively, start small, engage with a limited group of early adopters, and observe how they interact with your product. Ask open-ended questions like, what did you find most valuable? And what frustrated you? Iterate quickly based on their feedback, and don't fear change. It's a sign you're moving closer to what your customers truly want. The takeaway? Testing isn't a one-time event, it's an ongoing dialogue with your audience. By listening carefully and iterating rapidly, you'll not only improve your product, but also build trust with your customers. And in the world of startups, that trust is invaluable. Chapter 7. Measure. Imagine trying to navigate a journey without a map. You're walking blindly, hoping to reach your destination, but with no idea if you're getting closer or further away. That's what running a startup feels like without proper metrics. In this chapter, Eric Ries teaches us that the right metrics can guide your startup, like a GPS, towards success, but only if you focus on the ones that truly matter. The Lean Startup Framework emphasizes actionable metrics over vanity metrics. Vanity metrics might make you feel good, like the number of social media followers or website visits, but they don't tell you if your product is making a meaningful impact. Actionable metrics, on the other hand, are tied to learning objectives. For example, instead of counting visitors, measure how many actually sign up, make a purchase, or return to use your product again. Rise shares a critical insight. If you cannot fail, you cannot learn. This means your metrics should highlight whether an experiment worked or not, so you can adjust accordingly. Take a company testing a subscription box service. They shouldn't just track how many people click on their ad, but should measure how many of those clicks convert to paying customers, and how many of those customers stick around for a second box. To make this happen, tie your metrics directly to the build, measure, learn loop. Build something small, measure how it performs, and learn whether it's worth pursuing or tweaking. Metrics like customer retention rates or time to purchase provide clarity, while vague data points can lead you astray. The lesson here is simple but powerful. Focus on meaningful metrics that drive action. Regularly evaluate your data to ensure it aligns with your goals and use it to guide your iterations. The right numbers will illuminate your path forward, even in the fog of uncertainty. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Chapter 8, Pivot or Persevere. Now, let's talk about a decision that every entrepreneur will face at some point. Do you pivot or persevere? It's one of the hardest choices to make, but also one of the most important. In this chapter, Eric Ries gives us a framework to decide when to double down on your current strategy or change course entirely. Let's say you've been running a food delivery app for a few months. Your data shows that people love the idea, but rarely order twice. You're left wondering, should you keep improving the app as is or shift to something new, like focusing on meal kits instead? This is where the pivot or persevere decision comes into play. A pivot, as Ries defines it, is a change in strategy without changing your vision. It's like adjusting your sail while keeping your destination in sight. For example, if your app's biggest issue is convenience, your pivot might focus on improving delivery times instead of scrapping the whole idea. But if the core assumption that people want meal delivery is flawed, a more drastic pivot may be necessary. The key is using validated learning to guide this decision. Ries stresses, a pivot is a structured course correction designed to test a new hypothesis about the product or strategy. If your metrics consistently show that customers aren't engaging despite improvements, it's time to rethink your approach. On the other hand, if there's evidence that your adjustments are gaining traction, perseverance might be the better choice. This process can feel daunting, but the payoff is worth it. By embracing pivots as opportunities rather than failures, startups can avoid wasting resources and move closer to sustainable success. The lesson here? Monitor your key metrics closely. Be honest about what they tell you, and don't be afraid to change course. Every pivot is a chance to refine your vision and get it right. Chapter 9, Batch. Let's take a moment to reflect on how big projects get done. If you were tasked with painting a giant mural, would you paint the whole thing in one go, hoping for perfection? Probably not. You'd work on one section at a time, stepping back to assess your progress and adjust your technique. That's the essence of small batch production, a concept Eric Ries highlights as vital for startups in the lean startup. Small batch production is about breaking your work into manageable pieces to learn and improve faster. Imagine you're designing a new line of eco-friendly shoes. Instead of producing thousands of pairs right away, you'd create a small batch, test them with a select group of customers, and gather feedback. This way, you can refine the design before committing to full-scale production. Ries explains that large batch processes, while tempting, often lead to inefficiencies and waste because they lock you into decisions based on untested assumptions. One of the key benefits of small batches is the ability to spot mistakes early. Think of it like cooking. It's far easier to adjust the seasoning in a small pot of soup than in a massive vat. Similarly, startups can test and iterate on small pieces of their product to ensure they're on the right track. The lesson here is clear. Start small, learn fast, and adjust often. Break your process into smaller tasks, test your work as you go, and refine based on real feedback. By working in small batches, you'll not only save time and resources but also deliver a product that truly meets your customers' needs. Chapter 10, Grow. Growth is the dream of every startup, but not all growth is sustainable. In this chapter, Eric Ries lays out a roadmap for achieving meaningful, long-lasting growth by focusing on what he calls engines of growth. These engines, viral, sticky, and paid, offer different pathways to scale your business. The viral engine is fueled by word of mouth. Think about apps like WhatsApp or TikTok, which spread because users naturally invite others to join. Then there's the sticky engine, where the focus is on keeping existing customers so happy that they stick around. Subscription services like Spotify thrive on this model. Finally, the paid engine involves using advertising or direct sales to acquire customers, ensuring the cost of acquiring each customer is less than the revenue they bring in. Ries emphasizes the importance of choosing the right engine for your business and validating it with metrics. For example, if you're running a meal delivery service, your growth engine might depend on customer retention, making the sticky engine your priority. But here's the cautionary note. Scaling too soon, without understanding what drives your growth can lead to failure. Ries explains premature scaling is one of the leading causes of startup failure. The takeaway? Don't rush to grow without validating your approach. Identify the engine that fits your business, measure its effectiveness, and refine as needed. Sustainable growth isn't about going fast. It's about building a solid foundation that ensures your success over the long haul. Chapter 11. Adapt. Imagine being in the middle of a storm on a sailboat. The wind changes direction, the waves get higher, and suddenly, your original course is no longer safe. What do? You adapt. In the world of startups, adaptability is just as critical as it is on the open sea. Eric Ries emphasizes that being flexible and responsive to change is the competitive advantage that startups hold over larger, established companies. Adapting doesn't mean abandoning your vision. It means finding new ways to achieve it. Let's say your product isn't resonating with your target audience. Instead of doubling down on a failing approach, you reevaluate. What's the market telling you? What adjustments can you make? This mindset creates a culture of learning and experimentation, where every challenge is viewed as an opportunity to improve. Leadership plays a crucial role in fostering this adaptability. Leaders must encourage open communication about experiments, celebrate lessons learned, even from failures, and remain receptive to new ideas. Ries puts it succinctly. Adaptation is the competitive advantage of startups over established businesses. This ability to shift gears quickly allows startups to survive and thrive in a constantly changing market. To build adaptability into your team, focus on creating an environment that values continuous learning, encourage experimentation, and make it safe for people to take calculated risks. Stay flexible, and remember that the willingness to adapt is often what separates success from failure. Chapter 12. Innovate. When we think of innovation, we often picture groundbreaking new inventions, like the light bulb or the smartphone. But innovation isn't just about creating something new. It's about solving meaningful problems in ways that matter to your customers. Eric Ries teaches us that innovation is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process of iteration and learning. Take the story of the ride-hailing industry. Companies like Uber didn't succeed just by creating a new app. They solved a fundamental problem, making transportation more accessible, affordable, and efficient. They started small, tested their ideas, and continuously refined their offerings based on real customer feedback. Ries emphasizes that innovation doesn't require perfection from the start. Instead, it thrives on iteration. Think of a sculptor who begins with a rough block of clay and refines it over time. The same principle applies to startups. Begin with a simple solution, test it, and improve it based on what you learn. Innovation is about delivering value to customers, not just creating something new, Ries reminds us. To sustain innovation, embed experimentation into your company's DNA. Encourage your team to think creatively, ask questions, and challenge assumptions. Make innovation a daily habit, not an occasional effort. The takeaway here is clear. Focus on solving real problems for your customers. Use iterative processes to refine your solutions and create a culture that celebrates experimentation. By doing so, you'll not only innovate, you'll build a business that stays relevant and valuable in a rapidly evolving world. Chapter 13. Epilogue. Waste not. Think about the resources we waste every day: time, money, even energy. Now imagine running a startup where waste isn't just a minor inconvenience but a make-or-break factor for survival. Eric Ries wraps up the lean startup by focusing on the ultimate goal: eliminating waste to build a sustainable, value-driven business. The lean startup method revolves around efficiency and focus. Every action you take as an entrepreneur should contribute to learning or value creation. Ries stresses, every action a startup takes should be justified by its contribution to the creation of sustainable value. This means no fluff, no unnecessary meetings, and no overcomplicated features that don't serve the customer. Imagine a sculptor chiseling a block of marble. Each chip removed gets closer to the masterpiece. That's how a startup should approach building its product, removing anything that doesn't enhance its value. This approach is especially important in today's fast-paced, resource-intensive world. Rise highlights the power of iteration, small changes based on real feedback. For example, a team designing a fitness app might first focus on just one feature, like tracking steps, before expanding to calorie counting or sleep tracking. By iterating this way, they avoid wasting time building features that users don't care about. The lesson here is clear. Constantly ask yourself, does this action move us closer to creating real value? If not, it's time to rethink. Efficiency isn't just about saving money. It's about channeling your energy into what truly matters for your customers and your business. By eliminating waste, you'll build not just a product, but a company that can thrive long-term. Chapter 14. Join the movement. If you've made it this far, you might realize something profound. The Lean Startup isn't just a methodology, it's a movement. Eric Ries doesn't want you to simply apply these principles in isolation. Instead, he invites you to be part of a global shift in how businesses innovate, collaborate, and grow. What makes this movement so compelling is its universality. It's not just for Silicon Valley tech startups. Ries argues that lean principles can transform any organization, whether you're a small nonprofit, a government agency, or a Fortune 500 company. The idea is simple yet powerful. Focus on learning, adapt quickly, and innovate continuously. Collaboration is a cornerstone of this movement. By sharing what works and what doesn't, entrepreneurs and innovators accelerate collective progress. Imagine a community of chefs sharing recipes, not to outdo each other, but to create better dishes for everyone. That's the spirit of the lean startup community. Ries says, by working together and sharing what we learn, we can drive progress faster and more effectively. Joining this movement also means embracing a mindset of experimentation and resilience. It's about realizing that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the journey. By adopting these principles, you not only improve your chances of success, but also contribute to a larger culture of innovation. So, what's your next step? Engage with the lean startup community, whether through online forums, meetups, or sharing your experiences. Apply the principles to your unique challenges, and don't be afraid to experiment. Together, we can change the way businesses are built and create a world where innovation thrives.